All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for another Pro Huddle. And especially we condensed this month, so we're having it a week earlier than normal because obviously next week is a holiday week. So, but of course, thank you for coming. We always appreciate your attendance and interest in the information we're providing. Today, we are going to have a little bit of a different flavor because we're bringing in Al Boss from the Division of Business Relations and Compliance, and Grace Dino, who is the division chief. They are our counterparts here in the Office of Procurement with the other division between Ops and DBRC. We're going to touch base on the DBRC MFD Owned Business Program, and I'll you know what? I forgot to make that shift. Updates are going to go first. Then we're going to touch base on the MFD programs, and then we'll jump into the knowledge nugget. All right. So, General, what's happening over there? So, I'm so pleased to announce that we are coming up on our last CPA department intro meetings tomorrow. It will round out everybody. We've had a whole lot of meetings, but I can't tell you enough how excited I am that this is really getting up and running. And I really do hope that y'all can see a benefit and truly utilize this resource of the contract performance analyst to help y'all with any of your procurement needs. Again, does not take the place of the procurement specialist and what we do in ops already, but it's just an additional resource to you. So we're wrapping up those last meetings tomorrow. So I'm putting it down as completed because that was a marathon of meetings. Thank you all for participating in it and being, working with your schedules and everything to get those fit in. Ongoing things, I moved the threshold changes up to the top of that, and it is in the final stage of review. So just for general understanding, there have been lots of conversations, a lot of data that's been checked and processes, how things could change, what needs to be changed, etc. And we are now at a point where procurement, we've done our review, we came up with any regulation language change that we needed. Finance has done their review. They came up with any change they needed. So now we are working with County Attorney's Office to finalize the language for updating regs and also establishing new regs. And we anticipate that this should be able, there's still a process to this. Once it gets done on the executive side, it has to go over to council. There has to be a public posting, etc. But I can tell you we're in the home stretch of getting this, the threshold update done. So sometime early next year, I would anticipate is when it will be in effect. The other stuff that's ongoing is just our general, general projects that we have going on in the background. If you were participating in any of the CPA meetings, there were some of the examples that we had, but we're still working on the bridge guide. I know that I had anticipated having the bridge conversation sooner. That's getting pushed because there's a lot of conversation around the policy that we need to update with that. So that's getting pushed a little bit more, but still have all these things going on, still have a lot going on in the background. And there's always room for improvement and things to look at. So I will forever have a list. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to toss it over to Grace Dino to introduce herself and her division, and let her and Al Boss take it away on the MFD programs. Grace?
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning. I'm Grace Deno. I'm the other division chief, or one of the other division chiefs in the Office of Procurement. Our division is called Business Relations and Compliance, and we enforce all the contract compliance and social economic preference programs, including local, small, minority, female, disabled, veteran-owned business programs, as well as 2 wage programs. Also, we do vendor outreach, training events, workshops for vendors, as well as contract administrators in the departments. So I believe our program managers each manages one or multiple programs. Some of them have done this in Huddle. Michael Brown, who is the local and small business program manager, has done his piece for Huddle, and Carrie Albright, who is the wage requirements law program manager, has done this. So today we're going to focus on the minority female disabled owned business program, and the program manager is Alvin Boss. So I'm going to give the floor to Alvin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace. Good morning. My name is Al Boss. I am the program manager for the Minority Female Disabled Owned Businesses program, and we're going to keep it short. Just call it the MFD program, and the documents that we're going to speak to will be the MFD documents used as monitoring and tracking. I'm going to first start off with just an overview, a snapshot in terms of what this program is about and what it's designed to do. Well, it is designed to assist certified minority firms in gaining access to opportunities that's been awarded to prime contractors with the award of a contract of $50,000 or more. That triggers the subject to MFD compliance. MFD compliance is a component of the contractual process. So with that said, we do encourage any of these minority firms to contact, or the prime to exercise their good faith efforts in contacting minority firms as it relates to their needs in the purchasing of any goods or services. So basically, the MFD program is a subcontracting program. However, we do encourage any dollar amounts that the dollars that are spent as relates to the contracting process that may fall under the $50,000 threshold, that minority firms participate, engage in this procurement contracting process. So next thing I'm going to go into would be the goals that's been established for each of the purchasing categories. As you can see, we have 4 purchasing categories. We have the construction, and currently the goal is 22%. Professional services, the minority participation goal is 25%. The non-professional services or other is 24%, and for goods is 10%. Now, this represents the percentage of the total contract dollar value that would include any modifications or renewals to that contract with the participation of certified minority businesses or a certified minority business. Now, we don't care what they buy. They're not going to be limited or restricted as it relates to their purchasing needs of any goods or services or subcontract in any manner in support of the contract. We give them that flexibility. We give them that latitude, longitude to determine what their needs are. We're not going to participate in that endeavor. However, we will participate in their endeavor in identifying a minority firm or firms that they have identified an area or a task that they may need to purchase these goods or services or want to subcontract. So with that said, we do have available resources and sources that I will get into momentarily for which they can exercise their good faith efforts in determining and exploring these purchasing needs. Moving to the next slide. Okay, I do want to get into the functions of our program, and they deal externally and internally. First, we have procurement and MFD process education. This is very important because we want to educate people to the process, and regardless of their certification status, non-minorities certification status, whatever their status is, it's important that they understand the procurement process. For MFD, the process of knowing and the strategies that they can use to make that connection in terms of opportunities to do business with the prime contractor. Now, with that said, I do want to point out, prime contractors can be a certified minority firm, okay? They can be a 501c3. They can be a non-minority firm. They can be established in any capacity as it relates to how they're organized. But if they're a prime contractor, they're required to exercise a good faith efforts to do business in meeting the mandatory goals set forth by our department. Secondly, we have MFD compliance. This component is the strong arm, or the arm that deals with monitoring and tracking. Once a contract has been awarded, then we do the monitoring and tracking in terms of their level of participation throughout the life of the contract. Each of the minority subcontractors that's listed on the MFD plan, and we'll take a look at that and what that document stands for. But the objective is to ensure that the minority firms that they're using are getting paid, that the prime contractor is exercising their good faith efforts and in compliance with the regulations and the law and the policy set forth by procurement regulations and MFD regulations. Then we have MFD reporting. Well, we have a fiscal year. That fiscal year starts July 1st and June 30th, and we're coming up on that fiscal year ending very soon. We produce what is called the MFD annual report each at the end of the fiscal year. That determines that how well we're doing and what we need to do as it relates to our process or strengthen our process, as well as knowing that we would have to improve maybe in certain areas with respect to the types of goods that we're buying, the kind of services that we're buying, and the participation level of these minority firms. Where are we in construction, for example? Where are we in goods, and so forth and so on. So this sort of calibrates exactly what this program, as well as the stats are suggesting. We have customer service. This is very important. Everybody is a customer to the MFD office, whether they're off the streets or whether they're sitting at the desk working for Montgomery County or any other government agency. This is important to me because customer service does strengthen what we do as relates to how we are dealing with the public or with our, I would say, our internal functions in getting contracts through, or probably, no doubt, bringing about an understanding as to this process. This also entails that we do, or I do, provide counseling services, one-on-one or group sessions. This can be done virtually. This can be done over the phone or in person. And I just want to say they're not getting a fictitious individual such as AI or A1. I use that on my chicken, not steak sauce, but they're getting Al, because having that interface with the person, I feel as though is very important, not only to me, but just as important to them, because they are able to ask questions and have that level of comfort in the environment or atmosphere for which they can ask questions, and also have input in terms of what this process is about. Then we have outreach. Outreach is very important in that we want to spur on competition. So we want outside vendors who are not familiar, but need to be familiar because they want to expand their business opportunities, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector. And we are the public sector, and we want them to compete because it will help us in terms of we being the gatekeepers of the residents' dollars. So these are basically the 5 functions that are executed and carried out, in our MFD program. If I could have the next slide, please. Okay, I mentioned certification. Certification is very important because it protects the integrity of the process. All right, it really defines who is a minority firm by meeting the criteria of being at least 51% minority owned, controlled, and daily operated. Now, in Montgomery County, we are unique. We're unique in the sense that our program deals with ethnicity. So we have 6 categories of minority groups. We have the African American, Hispanic American, Native American Indian, Asian American. We have female and persons with disabilities. Now, because Montgomery County does not certify, as you can see, we have the 6 certifying agencies that we do recognize. And they are, you have the Service Disabled Veteran Owned Business Certification. They will fall under disabled. You have the Maryland Department of Transportation, commonly known as MDOT. You have the SBA 8A certification, their program. You have the WEBEC, which is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. You have the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council and City of Baltimore. Now, these certifications are very important because they just don't look at you being at least 51% minority owned, controlled, and daily operated. But with that, we do determine if you will be a participant in our program and receive the benefits, of these certifications. And there are benefits that I would point out a little bit later on. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, here are our goals. Okay, and as you can see, for calendar year 2024, the goal was 16%. We had a disparity study in these 4 purchasing areas, and it was concluded in their report that we should be doing more in these areas. So we went from 16% in construction to 22%. Professional services, we went from 19% to 25%, and that's one big jump there. Also, we went from 23% to 24% for non-professional services or other, and for goods, we went from 8% to 10%. These goals are mandatory goals. However, we do have options for which a vendor can respond as it relates to MFD compliance. And we do post these goals, on our website, and I do have my information in the chat, by the way. If you go to, you'll see it in the chat, Alvin Boss MFD office. But this particular site here, just put in montgomerycountymd.gov/pro, and you'll pull up the office procurement site. If we can go to the next screen. Thank you. Okay, the MFD plan, or the minority female disabled subcontractor performance plan. I'm going to keep it short, as I said in the beginning. The MFD plan is a legal document, part and parcel of the contract. It is the responsibility, solely the responsibility of the prime contractor to respond with this document in the execution of MFD compliance. This plan must be approved prior to the execution of the contract. So with that said, they are to identify who they are. It's pretty straightforward in terms of the information that they have to put in. Now I'm going to get into little details here as it pertains to what they're required to report. As I mentioned, we have options that are available that should be appropriately responded to as it relates to completing this form and submitting it for review and approval. Those options are as follows. Number 1, to meet or exceed the goal. Okay. Number 2, that if they fall below the goal, they must provide a written justification as to why it's impractical or not applicable for for any participation, not necessarily minority participation, but what is not available and the reason why it's not available. Okay, and of course the third option here is a request for a full waiver again, a written justification must be provided. And we have space in letter F for that. Outside of that, letter D is space provided. And we do list and identify those certifications as a reminder that these firms must hold. And we do require, and it's a must, that they attach a copy of this certification. Now, for a contract to be fully executed as it relates to MFD compliance and this MFD plan, the minority vendor or vendors must be registered. We have to have them registered in our database and identified in our beta database holding one of the 6 certifications. Now, and that's very simple for the registration to take place. All they need to do is go to www.montgomerycountymd.gov/vendor registration. Excuse me. So the vendor registration will be checked. I will check to make the match as to who they have listed as it relates to who they've identified and see if they hold the certification. Now, I want everyone to understand I'm here to assist you in achieving your objective, okay? However, it's dependent upon everybody who's involved and who has their hands, in this process. So I would deal directly with your prime vendor or selected vendor for this contract. In the event that this is reviewed, we'll let them know that, I'm sending out an email, and at times I will copy you or the contract administrator as well as the procurement specialist as to the update or to the status or what's taking place in terms of the action that prime vendor or that subcontractor need to take. Okay, so that does work both ways in terms of that. Now let's entertain here for a minute that let's suppose that a partial waiver is provided, for review and for us to approve. I will review that as it relates to the contents. What are they telling me and making the case as to why they can't? If they just come in with, we don't subcontract, that's an incomplete sentence that is not given, a complete thought. So I would do a follow-up with this prime contractor as a courtesy to see what more can they get in terms of what they're doing for us. Where is this distribution of the dollars going, and can there be more spent, or if there's more available to be spent in support of what you're doing for us? So basically I'll be looking at what we're buying, the dollar value, and the available opportunities that may fall up under this that they may need. I want them to tell me, as well as them, putting it in writing, maybe I'm missing something. And if I'm missing that much, and if it's an incomplete statement that I cannot completely understand, then I will have to ask them to revise the MFD plan so we can, gain passage or approval. And it's not anything hard. It's pretty straightforward in terms of their exercising their good faith efforts in determining that. But make the case in making sense as to why. The full waiver, of course, okay, these options are all part of the approval process. It's just a matter of how you are crafting this, how you are addressing this in terms of the case you're trying to make. All right. The justification of why it's impractical is just simple. Give me the reason why it's impractical. Provide the written statement that will address why it's not applicable. It would be up to them to make the case. No one else should be making this case for them. And I say that to say this, simply, if you're contacted by the vendor that you selected or the awardee of the contract regarding the MFD process or this document, please refer them to me. I'm quite sure you have more time that you need to spend on something else. But if you have a good idea in terms of what this document represents and how it should be addressed and completed, you can feel free. I'm not saying that you don't have to, but I'm saying that I want to help you as it relates with the time on your hand. Give it to me because I will take the time to assist, to provide the information that they need in order to move forward. Because this whole thing is based on time, and we do want to, avoid any delays in this whole process. So this is a legal document, and we do encourage them throughout the life of the contract as well to seek opportunities that they have available and explore this with other certified minority firms. Now, there are sources of resources available for them to carry on this process. Number one, they can go to our database, which is Montgomery County, www.montgomerycountymd.gov/vendor registration. And we have all of our certified minority firms in the various areas that they may be looking for, and I can assist in navigating them through that. That's part of this education process. The other source of resource, they can go to the databases of either one of those 6 certifying agencies or entities that we recognize and explore their database in terms of making a match. And if they're looking for more competition, of course, that's available. Also, they can contact me and drop me an email, and I'll be more than happy to get them started with a few names. And fourthly, you may know of, or they may know of, a minority firm that they're dealing with, and they can easily check with me to verify the status in our system or our database. Now, do we have another screen here? Okay. Now, in our reporting, we have exemptions, meaning these dollars are not counted towards the subject base of minority business compliance, okay? Because reporting, we're dealing with dollars for the most part. So we have exclusions. We have utility contracts that are excluded. This doesn't make sense to go after utility contracts that that we're spending money on, and it's just one source. We have intergovernmental and intragovernmental contracts. That simply meaning inter could be City of Rockville, City of Gaithersburg. Those are excluded. Intra, any monies coming in from the state or from the federal government, they will not, be included in our base or subject to minority participation. We have grants, and they can be grants coming from the federal, state, or county council resolution. And then we have DBE goals set by the federal agencies. Now, we do not touch those dollars. Basically, we have nothing to do with those dollars that are coming, from the federal government. Those are something that will circumvent the process and move forward. Our program is based on county taxpayer dollars, okay? Residents that pay into our taxes. That's, property taxes, red light camera, violations and so forth. Again, only county dollars. Let's move to the next one. Okay. All right. This is very important here. The incentive, and this is what this is predicated on. If you are responding to what is called an RFP, request for proposal, okay, you would see the MFD participation points. These are points are assigned for the participation of certified minority firms only if you exceed the goal, okay? And it's 10% of the total highest possible score for the written evaluation. and that would automatically roll over to the interview. Whatever those points are, there is always 10%. So points assigned for MFD participation in number 4 are 15. You will receive 15 points if you exceed the minority participation goal. So let's say the minority participation goal for this particular RFP is 25%. Okay, 25%. You must exceed, or the vendor must exceed, with the participation only of certified minority firms, either holding one of those 6 certifications that we recognize. There will be no other certifications recognized as relates to getting these points. So they must exceed the 25% goal. Failure to do that, they will not receive any points. Now, the benefit to being certified as opposed to being non-certified, you can have a minority firm that doesn't hold that certification, but they may come in and say, "Hey, I'm a minority business." Well, that's fine. Did you go through the process? Again, this protects the integrity of what qualifies or constitutes the criteria of what a minority firm is, being at least 51% owned, controlled, and daily operated by one or more minority person or persons. So they can come in with 25.01%. They would have exceeded the goal. Okay. So if your non-minority firm is exceeding the goal or nothing. If you're a certified minority firm, you would gain the benefit of getting half the points. Okay, half of the 15 points. So you get 7.5%. So to get the other half, you must exceed the 25% goal with the participation exceeding 12.5% with a certified minority firm or firms holding one of those 6 certifications. Okay. Now, should they receive the 15 points at the written evaluation, they do not have to interview for the interview evaluation criteria. Those points will automatically roll over and be awarded. So that's one of the benefits. The other benefits I'd like to just go on to state that when a prime contractor is looking for certified minority firms, I'm there to assist them, of course, and provide the information as it relates to sources and resources that they can explore these opportunities with. Also, I may have some names and I can get them started. But first and foremost, I will navigate them through our database so they can be comfortable and they can be empowered themselves to go in and check for themselves to determine what area or areas that they may need as they're putting together, their proposal to get the points. So I would let them know that you can send me, some areas and something to get you started. B, of course, they can go into our database. C, of course, they can go in to the respective databases that we do recognize as it relates to the certifying agency, so certifications. Okay, so that's, again, that is an incentive. And a lot of people do not want to leave points, on the table. So I'm here to assist them. As many people as I can who have an interest in wanting to get the points. And some people will submit, a plan, without, any MFD participation, and that's fine. They won't get points. However, before the contract is signed, the MFD plan is reviewed, and there may be some questions that I may have in terms of what I have determined as relates to what they did or didn't do in exercising their good faith efforts. Okay, do we have another screen? Okay, the annual report. Again, I mentioned that earlier on, that we do monitor and track the participation and the dollars that are subject to our program. And in this case, it was 1.2 billion. And we got an MFD participation was $273,944,943, which equates to 21.9% 21%. I do look at percentages, but more so I'm interested in the dollars. So we spent more, however, the minority firms got more, in terms of dollar awards compared to the percentage. Percentage dues look good, but if I had the choice, I would want to take the dollars. But we constantly look at this and see where we can improve. And we do invite not only our external vendors or customers to let us know, hey, what is it that you see fit that we can do better, either to streamline the process or to improve the process in terms of the participation. And of course, there are a lot of ideas that flow through, and they are looked at. So we continuously strive to not only to look at how much money that the minorities got, but what we can do to improve in terms of what they did get, and to also have the new blood coming in through the outreach efforts to come in to assist in this process. And competition is always good. Okay. MFD program enforcement. Okay. We review and remove artificial barriers and solutions, and solicitation, to ensure fair and open competition. Competition is very important. Give you an example. I've been with the county 35 years, so I haven't seen it all, but I've seen some, and some that I saw that something would come over that would be questionable in terms of experience, in let's say in painting. They want 10 years of experience in painting. Painting what? But if they got a paintbrush and they've been in the business, why are we looking at 10 years? But they're looking for the firm. I look at the offer, because the offer can be anyone. This could be a barrier that would exclude the potential of a company being awarded a contract. Review and approve, deny MFD plans, waiver requests prior to contract execution, as I mentioned before. Yes, it is denied initially, but what I try to do is point to a solution, point to where they would first and foremost understand the process and understand MFD compliance. It's not so much that I'm concerned about them seeking a waiver, as much as them understanding the process and what they can do. It's not all about subcontracting. It's about purchase of any goods or services, direct or indirect. It's about them opening up their paradigm and exercising that good faith efforts. Now, I would say that sometimes, as probably some of the contract administrators have experienced, have been a delay in the process. And that delay could be, pointed in many directions. But I don't point to problems. I go to solutions to resolve the problems and see what we can do to get through. I would exercise my best efforts, but I want that prime vendor to not rely upon anybody else outside of this office in terms of their responsibility, okay, and accountability as it relates to MFD compliance. I think it's simple. It's not a hard situation, to go through in order to complete. And I would say that me representing the MFD office is open as well as equipped to come up with solutions. But these solutions can only be predicated on a thorough understanding as to, oh, I didn't know I could do this. And I've had situations where I talked to vendors where they said, oh, okay, well, I could do this, I can do that. That's fine. That opened up the paradigm in terms of what this process is about. It's not as explicit, in my opinion, as it should be, but I don't mind engaging. I don't mind providing, that information in terms of that discussion. I think it's important having that discussion is going to be not only in the education, but it's going to really have that level of comfort in knowing what they can do to fully comply, rather than circumvent the process with, oh, I'm just going to go to the least path of resistance. We have the resolve prime and subcom complaints. Yes, that's what we do. I could share some war stories with you, but we're not going to have time for that, and I will not take up your time in sharing that. But yes, if there are issues between the prime and the sub, let's say the prime, for example, is not paying the sub. So there's a process in place, all right, with respect to this monitoring and tracking, and simply saying that this process entails putting something in writing to me from the sub and explaining, what's going on, the who, what, where, why, and when. And then my process on my end is to contact the prime to advise them that there's an issue that the sub have. Now, my whole thing is to bring them together and in hopes of getting the facts, giving the opportunity to both parties to explain their positions. And I'm quite sure everybody got an agenda, and their points are, or their points, and better than the points than, the other person is making. And that's fine. But my whole thing is to listen and to see what's in the middle in terms of what we can do to keep this relationship going. If it's found that, excuse me, that the prime has no reasonable cause to, withhold money or whatever, or if it's a performance issue, then, I'll have to look at that another way. But they are given 5 days to resolve this. If not, then I will move to the next phase in contacting my boss, Grace, informing the contract administrator as well as the buyer that we have an issue here. But I make it very clear to the prime, hey, look, I think this should be kept between the three of us to resolve this. If not, I'm gonna have to take it to the next step, and that's gonna be a delay. Possibly, given the authority and the enforcement of MFD regulations and policies, their money can be withheld, okay? And that seems to be, the overriding factor to hurry up and get this thing resolved. The other thing, the reputation of the prime. I'm quite sure, they don't want any trouble with the county, and the county don't want any trouble with what they're doing in terms of any violations. Now, if it's such that the prime performance is not up to par, then that's another issue. But they cannot be, the prime cannot put that sub off of the job without contacting our office to review and to see what the facts, demands here. So we do try to resolve this between the parties, and I will put them on a matrix system, whereas I want them to report to me every week, and a written report as to what's being done and who signed off on what. That does work because it's forcing both parties to come together to ensure that the work's being done and both parties, are agreeing. As you can see, yes, may request withholding payments to contractors out of compliance. And of course, along with that, could potentially come liquidated damages. But I don't like to play that card because I don't want to hurt any company. But if necessary, that if I find that the prime is being obstinate or, playing games, or I just don't have time, or I just don't have the tolerance because other things are going on so quickly then I may, put in that request, but I may go ahead and advise and give that prime every opportunity to think about what they're doing so that they can move forward in resolving this. If they are aware that, hey, this could possibly withhold any payments, I think that they're going to be pretty much on the ball, So moving forward, if I could have another screen there. Okay, this is my contact information, as well as my contact information is in the chat. That pretty much concludes my presentation, and I thank you for attending this topic, and I look forward to any discussions or anything that you may have as it relates to a question. But I look forward to working with each and all of you to get whatever you need, through in terms of what I'm responsible and accountable for. I'm going to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and the new year to come. And I look forward to working with you between now and the new year to come. Thank you very much. And that concludes my presentation, and I'll open it up for any questions. I'm going to hand this back over to you, Grace and Melissa, and I appreciate it. And I'll
Awesome,
talk to
Al.
you later. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Al. I'm going to run through the knowledge nugget really quick, and then we'll get into the questions. Okay. Actually, before I do knowledge nugget, just letting everyone know, Al went through all of his stuff, and to be clear, I mean, I think we all understand there's a lot of stuff that goes on with this program that the department doesn't even really need to get involved in. And, he mentioned that he's happy to help work with the vendors, but at least y'all having this knowledge, like one of the reasons why we want y'all to better understand these programs and what it is we do, or why we need to do it, or where the resources are for it, is because if vendors do come to you, because you are their typical regular point of contact for things when it comes to their contracts, you'll at least have a better understanding of what the world is of this program and where to find things, who to contact, etc. So I really appreciate you, Al, being here and explaining all of that, and I hope it's helpful to everyone getting a little bit more in-depth understanding of these types of programs that we have. All right, so knowledge nugget, just really quick one. This is just because I had a conversation with someone not long ago about certificates of insurance, and this is just a kind of reminder thing I want to throw out there. Please make sure your contracts, your vendors' certificates of insurance are up to date. Monitor them so that when you actually need a procurement action done, that's not when you realize that the insurance is no longer valid, because that will hold up getting whatever that action is that you're waiting for done, because we aren't able to process requisitions or cut POs or process procurement actions if certificates of insurance are not active, if they're not up to date. So don't let it be at the time you need something when this happens. So don't wait until you need it. An idea is something someone mentioned. Consider looking at your contracts and setting calendar dates for yourself, like seeing when it expires, and then like setting a thing on your Outlook for a month in advance to reach out to that vendor and say, hey, please make sure you get an updated insurance in because it expires whatever date. Something to consider. It's a suggestion, but that could obviously help kind of bring it to the forefront of your mind. Also, the other thing is with certificates of insurance, you need to make sure you work with risk management if there are any issues, whether it needs to be updated, if there needs to be a review, or if there needs to be an exception for any reason. Like there are times when people are like, I have to get this PO right now, and we tell you we can't cut it because insurance is expired. We can't. Procurement has no authority over the insurance requirements. That would be a risk management thing. So if you reach out to risk management and they're willing to give you a grace period to get the insurance in for us to be able to cut that PO, then we, procurement, would need some sort of acknowledgement from risk management that that's allowed and that they're granting that. So please, basically this knowledge nugget is we have no desire to hold anybody up for anything. However, if stuff like this, like certificates of insurance, if they are expired, there is nothing we can do. It is a requirement for a contractual, it's a contractual requirement for everything we have in our office. So we aren't able to just bypass that. So that's your knowledge nugget for today. Now we'll go to any questions. And I think right now I'm only seeing one question and probably not going to be able to answer you to the extent of which you'd like me to. But the question is, what are the anticipated updated threshold amounts? The best thing for me to do right now is just to say it hasn't been finalized. Like I said, it's with county attorney right now for language, for the rewrite of the language and additional language that's going to go into the regs. It's being finalized until it actually gets squared away with the second floor and over to council. We don't want to necessarily broadcast it because anything could change. So I don't want to get everyone's hopes up or get something stuck on a certain thing. So to be revealed, I guess, in the future. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, Al, this one's for you. Is the MFD required for federally funded construction projects?
That's a good question. If the monies are coming from the federal government through the state, it would not be subject to, unfortunately. However, if I have any information regarding who've been awarded that contract, I may extend a courtesy call to see, what they may have available. They're not under any regulations or law. I don't want to step outside my boundaries in terms of that, but it's not enforceable because it is an exemption from our from the tax base, from the base of MFD compliance or the subject $2. Hopefully that answers your question.
I'd like to add on this topic that the MFD program is a county law. So if the contract is funded fully or partially by the federal government or the state, then our MFD program does not apply. However, for the most part, the federal grant or the funding source would have a requirement for DBE participation. DBE here means disadvantaged business enterprise that's defined by the federal government. In the past experience, a lot of times they would have a percentage goal clarified in that DBE requirement. And also they will say how it is enforced. In the past, we have seen that they will give out contact information, the DBE office, either by the federal government or the state government office, where the vendor can contact with, and they also have their own forms for the vendors to fill out. In recent development, there are some federal agencies, specifically in this case, the Transportation Agency has their own DBE policies. So we will follow whatever the particular funding sources DBE requirement when it comes to the minority participation requirements.
I also want to.
Yeah, our MFD program is not in there.
I also want to follow up on that, Grace. Sometimes we get partial dollars from, let's say, the state or from the federal government, and that's also intertwined with dollars coming from Montgomery County. So if there's a $100 million contract, and let's say half of that is funded by Montgomery County, that portion will be subject to. That portion would be required for the prime contractor to meet or exceed, the MFD participation goal. And I will work with them, regarding, maybe available opportunities that they may have, as well as provide a list and, navigate them to the sources that they can engage a minority farmer firms. But if it's taxpayer dollars or dollars that have been raised by Montgomery County, of course, only those dollars would be subject to.
Right. We have one more thing, and it's about certificates of insurance. So COIs are usually not available from vendors much before the expiration date, even when constantly reminding them, and that it's so this person says they struggle getting it to prior to the expiration date. Fair enough, and I'm sure other people do experience that. It's more of a staying on top of it so that at least somebody's aware whether or not something's going to be expiring soon, as opposed to what we oftentimes see happen. A PO is needed and we're 6 months past the insurance expiration, and we just weren't aware of it for, to that extent. So do the best you can. I mean, obviously I know it's at the response from their insurance company to them, and then the vendors getting it to us. But it's more of a just understand we can't do anything if there's expired insurance. So whatever it is you feel as though you can put in place to help make your life easier, to try to make sure all your insurance is up to date and you've communicated that with your vendor, the better off we all are. All right, so that's all we have for today. Look at that, hitting right at the end. So biggest thing I'll say is thank you all again. It's been an awesome year. I greatly appreciate y'all always attending, and I wish all of you, regardless of what you may or may not celebrate, I hope you all enjoy your time with family, friends, etc. over the holidays, and wish you a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2026. Thank you.